Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar, coming up in the next hour. Dominica confers its highest national award on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Prime Minister dedicates the award to 1.4 billion Indians. At the India-CARICOM Summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi proposes a comprehensive partnership with the Caribbean nations, redefines CARICOM from capacity building to cricket. Prime Minister Modi holds bilateral talks with leaders of Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname, Dominica. India and Guyana also strengthen bilateral partnership. They signed 10 MOUs. And Goa is all immersed in cine magic as the 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India opens. Prasar Bharati launches an OTT platform called Waves. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi received the Dominica Award of Honor. That's the highest national award of Dominica. And the award is in recognition of Prime Minister Modi's contributions to Dominica during the COVID-19 pandemic and his dedication to strengthening the partnership between the two countries. The award was handed over by Dominica's President Sylvanie Burton. India supplied Dominica with 70,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine during the pandemic in February of 2021. Well, the award also recognizes India's support for Dominica in healthcare, education, information technology under Prime Minister's leadership, Prime Minister Modi's leadership.
ये सम्मान केवल मेरा नहीं है, बल्कि भारत के 140 करोड़ लोगों का, उनके पुरुषार्थ का, उनके संस्कार का, उनकी परंपरा का यह सम्मान है। यह गहरे संतोष का विषय रहा है कि हम कोविड जैसी आपदा के समय डोमिनिका के लोगों की सहायता कर सके।
Well, and that award is one of 3 awards that have been given to Prime Minister. In fact, we are getting visuals here of India and the Bahamas having their bilateral meeting. Philip Davis is the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Philip Davis has been serving as the Prime Minister of Bahamas since 2021. And he is a member from the Cat Island. And in fact, this is also one of the important relationships within the CARICOM. Prime Minister has utilized this opportunity to meet all the leaders of the CARICOM, and in a way he is meeting 15 different countries one by one, the leaders who are all present for the second India-CARICOM Summit. Each of these is a standalone bilateral because some agreements have been signed at one of the meetings earlier. Also, we look at economic opportunities that the whole grouping and the whole region gets from India's economy, which is the fastest growing economy amongst the G20 countries. India also is making significant advancements in the areas of technology and especially with UPI. And these are things that have been most sought after by the Global South countries, especially in the Caribbean. Apart from that, pharmaceuticals has been one of the areas where the Caribbean has sought a lot of support. And we can see clearly these visuals showing the importance of the way the entire Caribbean looks at India and Prime Minister Modi. Prime Minister, as we did see, has been given various awards, in fact, from by leaders of different countries. Now, we can see here this is another meeting that has also taken place on the sidelines. This is Gaston Brown, who is the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, and he's been serving as the Prime Minister since 2014. He's a Labour Party leader, and here too, Antigua is one of the members of the CARICOM. The CARICOM countries have been doing reasonably well. They have had, since they formed this grouping of CARICOM, they have fed on each other in a sense in a common market, and they've grown. Their growth rates have been quite significant, from about 4% to 15%. In fact, Guyana is the fastest growing country in the CARICOM at 15%. Of course, they're all small countries, and Prime Minister did mention that he doesn't see them as small island nations, but the way India looks at them as large ocean countries, because their maritime zones are very, very large, and as a result of that, those resources too, can be exploited or utilized in terms of the economy. Agriculture is also a sector that these countries have been keen to cooperate with India, and especially in areas where there's a lot of technology involved. There's a shortage of land, but the land in the Caribbean is very rich in properties for cultivation. In fact, you get a lot of fruits. The land it's very fertile land, and as a result of that, they can, multiply the agricultural produce with good interventions. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with the Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit, also on the sidelines of the second India-CARICOM Summit. Prime Minister Modi thanked the Dominican Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of Dominica, for the conferment of Dominica's highest civilian award. The leaders, they explored opportunities for India-Dominica cooperation in areas such as climate resilience, healthcare, capacity building, and deepening of people-to-people ties. They also discussed cooperation at the United Nations. And on the sidelines of the second India-CARICOM Summit, India's Prime Minister also held talks with the President of Suriname, Chandrika Prasad Santokhi, and both leaders reviewed progress on bilateral partnership. They emphasized the importance of strengthening economic cooperation. The leaders agreed to expand bilateral cooperation in areas which include defense and security, trade and commerce, agriculture, digital initiatives, including the UPI, ICT, healthcare, traditional medicine and pharmaceuticals, capacity building, human resource development, culture, and people-to-people engagements. India's Prime Minister held talks with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Rowley, and the leaders discussed ways to strengthen Trinidad and Tobago's relations in areas of digital transformation, health, defense and maritime security, transportation and cultural exchanges. The Prime Ministers witnessed the exchange of an MOU on setting up of an integrated automated fruit and vegetable primary processing activities in Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister Modi congratulated Prime Minister Dr. Rowley for adopting India's flagship UPI platform. India's Prime Minister Modi held talks with Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Amor Motley, and the leaders explored opportunities for cooperation in several areas. Prime Minister Modi co-chaired their, as we know, he had met them also earlier at the India-CARICOM Summit. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had co-chaired that summit which I was talking about, the second India-CARICOM Summit. He did so along with the Prime Minister of Grenada, Dickon Mitchell, who is the current chair of CARICOM. Prime Minister Modi thanked President Irfan Ali of Guyana for hosting this summit. And the summit saw the participation from heads of government and foreign ministers of the member states. They are furthering the India-CARICOM partnership, which Prime Minister has put forward a 7-pillar proposal for CARICOM. He says C is for capacity building, A is for agriculture and food security, R is for renewable energy and climate change, I for innovation, technology and trade, C for cricket and culture, O for ocean economy and maritime security, and M for medicine and healthcare. Well, Prime Minister Modi also said that cricket is a big connecting link between India and the Caribbean nations, and he's proposed training of women cricketers because of women empowerment in these nations.
क्रिकेट हमारे देशों के बीच एक बहुत बड़ा और महत्वपूर्ण कनेक्टिंग लिंक है। इस वर्ष आपके यहाँ हुए T20 वर्ल्ड कप से भारतीय क्रिकेट फैंस का कैरेबियन की ओर आकर्षण और भी बढ़ा है। और यह मैं सिर्फ इसलिए नहीं कह रहा हूं क्योंकि भारत ने यह विश्व कप जीता था। मेरा प्रस्ताव है कि क्रिकेट संबंधों के साथ साथ महिला सशक्तिकरण को बढ़ावा देने के लिए हम कैरिकॉम के हर देश से 11 युवा महिला क्रिकेटर्स की भारत में ट्रेनिंग कर सकते हैं।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave a new definition to CARICOM, focusing on capacity building, agriculture, food security, renewable energy, cricket and culture and medicine. And the Prime Minister said that India has put a proposal of opening Jan Aushadhi Kendras in Caribbean.
कैरिकॉम देशों की स्वास्थ्य सुरक्षा भारत के लिए उच्च प्राथमिकता का विषय रहा है। भारत में सामान्य मानवी को क्वालिटी एंड अफोर्डेबल हेल्थ केयर प्रदान करने के लिए जन औषधि केंद्र खोले हैं। मेरा प्रस्ताव है कि हम इस मॉडल पर कैरिकॉम के सभी देशों में जन औषधि केंद्र खोल सकते हैं। भारत और सभी देशों के बीच फार्माकोपिया को मान्यता देने के लिए समझौता संपन्न किया जाए तो इस प्रयास को गति ला सकते हैं।
And during the India-CARICOM Summit, the Guyanese President Dr. Irfan Ali thanked Prime Minister Modi for his selfless attributes during the COVID times, and he said that ties between India and Caribbean are deeply rooted in shared history and enduring cultural connections.
Having collectively this occasion to meet you face to face for the first time since COVID, to thank you and the people of India for your selfless attributes when you delivered to this region our first set of vaccines during the COVID pandemic. Under your visionary leadership, India has an influential voice in the international community. Your launching of the Voice of the Global South, your recent chairmanship of the Group of 20, India's pivotal role in BRICS, and your steadfast advocacy for the developing world underscores your commitment to advancing the aspirations of the Global South. These initiatives have elevated India's stature and placed the concerns of developing nations, including the small island developing and low-lying coastal states of the Caribbean, firmly on the global agenda.
India and Guyana have signed key MOUs to strengthen ties in hydrocarbons, agriculture and pharmaceuticals. The highlights include diversifying crude oil sources, promoting affordable generic medicines, as well as expanding India's UPI and RuPay systems into Guyana. These agreements aim at boosting bilateral trade, the energy security, as well as digital inclusion, marking, in fact, a new chapter in India-Guyana relations. Here's the report. India and Guyana are forging a historic partnership as Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarks on his landmark visit to the Caribbean nations. This visit underscores the deepening ties between the two countries, bound by shared values and mutual interests. Prime Minister Modi and President Dr. Irfan Ali engaged in comprehensive talks focusing on key areas such as defense, energy, health, pharmaceuticals, telemedicine, Ayurveda and capacity building.
भारत की एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी में गयाना की अहम भूमिका होगी। इस संदर्भ में लॉन्ग टर्म पार्टनरशिप के लिए एक खाका तैयार किया जाएगा। इस विषय पर आज किए जा रहे एमओयू से हमारा सहयोग और सुदृढ़ होगा।
Strengthening this robust partnership, India and Guyana signed several agreements across critical sectors, signaling a shared vision for growth and development. MOU on cooperation in hydrocarbon sector, MOU for bilateral cooperation in the field of agriculture and allied sectors, Cultural Exchange Program 2024 to 2027, MOU for recognition of Indian pharmacopoeia, MOU for implementation of Jan Aushadhi scheme, MOU on cooperation in the field of medical products, India Stack MOU on cooperation in the field of sharing successful digital solutions, MOU for enabling deployment of UPI-like system in Guyana, MOU for cooperation in collaboration in field of broadcasting, MOU between National Defence Institute Guyana and Rashtriya Raksha University, Gujarat.
हम दोनों देशों के कृषि अनुसंधान संस्थानों के बीच सहयोग बढ़ाने पर भी सहमत हुए। कृषि के क्षेत्र में आज किए जा रहे एमओयू से हमारे प्रयासों को बल मिलेगा। भारत फार्मा प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए गयाना का महत्वपूर्ण स्रोत है। हम फार्मा एक्सपोर्ट्स बढ़ाने के साथ साथ गयाना में जन औषधि केंद्र बनाने पर भी काम करेंगे।
Prime Minister Modi celebrated the enduring cultural connections between the two nations, emphasizing the cultural exchange program that will continue until 2027. He also hailed President Dr. Irfan Ali as a true brand ambassador of India, reflecting the close bond shared by both leaders.
राष्ट्रपति इरफान अली स्वयं भारतीय समुदाय के बहुत बड़े ब्रांड एम्बेसडर हैं। आज हम दोनों देशों के बीच 2027 तक कल्चरल एक्सचेंज एग्रीमेंट पर सहमति बनी है। इससे हमारे पीपल टू पीपल टाइज और मजबूत होंगे।
Dr. Irfan Ali acknowledged India's expertise in vaccines, urban development and agriculture, highlighting these as key areas of collaboration. Praising Prime Minister Modi's leadership, he called him a champion among leaders for his significant contributions to the developing world.
You are a champion among leaders. You have led incredibly. You have shown the light to the developing world, and you have created a development matrix and framework that many are adopting in their own country, and much of it is relevant to us here in Guyana.
In a heartwarming gesture, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Ali participated in the Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam initiative by planting a sapling in Georgetown. Adding to the significance of the moment, President Ali was joined by his grandmother and mother-in-law, symbolizing respect for maternal bonds and shared values. With Siddharth Bardwaj, Bureau Report, DD India. And still to come here on DD India News Hour. Hamas says Israeli hostages can be freed only if Gaza conflict is ended. The US shuts its embassy in Ukraine, citing a threat of air attack. Putin aide warns the West against a direct military confrontation. And Hong Kong's pro-democracy tycoon Jimmy Lai testifies for the first time in a landmark trial.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Hamas's acting Gaza chief, Khalil al-Hayya, has said in an interview that there would be no hostages for prisoners swap deal with Israel unless the conflict is ended. Efforts to negotiate a truce for Gaza have stalled, and the US vetoed a UN Security Council resolution calling for an unconditional permanent ceasefire. Washington's UN ambassador said the US would only support a resolution that explicitly calls for the immediate release of the Israeli hostages as part of a ceasefire. Hamas wants a deal that ends the conflict and sees the release of Israeli and foreign hostages held captive in Gaza, as well as Palestinians jailed by Israel, while Netanyahu has vowed that the war can only end once Hamas is eradicated. The Ukraine-Russia conflict remains a focal point of global concern, while the US support for Ukraine for striking deep into Russian territory has heightened the tensions, as this report tells us.
It's been more than 1,000 days since the Russia-Ukraine conflict began dominating global discourse. Amid growing fears of escalation, the US Embassy temporarily closed operations in Ukraine's capital city, Kiev, after receiving specific intelligence about a potential significant air attack. This development follows the United States' decision to allow Ukraine to strike targets deep inside Russia using American-made weapons. Ukraine recently targeted a Russian weapons arsenal in the Bryansk region with attack missiles, or the Army Tactical Missile Systems, marking the first time these missiles were fired across the border. The Biden administration's significant policy shift prompted a response from Russian President Vladimir Putin, who on Tuesday signed a decree expanding the circumstances under which Moscow could use nuclear weapons against a non-nuclear state, if that state is supported by nuclear powers. The US has not adjusted its nuclear posture in response to Russia's updated doctrine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his advisors are preparing for the possibility of a second Trump presidency, as the candidate has expressed criticism of US aid to Kiev in the past. Bureau Report, DD India.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin's spy chief, he has warned the West on Wednesday that it risks a disastrous consequence if the United States and its European allies stoke a direct military confrontation with Russia over Ukraine. Sergei Naryakshin, who is the head of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, says that Russia would punish any NATO member that helps Ukraine strike deep into Russia with long-range Western weapons. With the Russian forces advancing into Ukraine, Moscow says that it will achieve all its aims, including demilitarization of Ukraine. But Ukraine downplays that threat of an imminent large-scale missile threat after several foreign embassies in Kiev closed for a day, citing a potential strike. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has told a US TV channel that he fears he might lose the war.
Of course, anyway, we will stay, we will fight. We have our production, but it's not enough to prevail, and I think it's not enough to survive. But that will be, if such choice will be American choice, so we will decide what we will have to do.
Moving on, no business sector has seen as much of an uptick in recent years as the defense sector, for obvious reasons, as two major conflicts are playing out in Ukraine and West Asia. For many businesses, the question is how to position themselves in this environment. The CEO of the pan-European Airbus, they say that consolidation might be helpful. So Lars Holter is now joining me. He's with Deutsche Welle. Lars, what exactly are you hearing about Airbus?
Thanks for having me. Yes, indeed, the group's CEO, Guillaume Faury, says that Europe's space industry, he initially started with that, but later expanded his comments to defense, needs to restructure and consolidate in the face of a private US competition and investments in China and elsewhere. To quote Monsieur Faury, he says, we are fragmented in a world where some giants have emerged, especially in the US, but not only. They are also growing in China. As for the US, SpaceX has become a giant in the field, supplying NASA with rockets and technology and pretty much single-handedly saving the country's space program. Now, SpaceX is obviously owned and run by Elon Musk, who is now President-elect Trump's best buddy. And with that, his standing and most certainly the standing of his company will grow. So as not to be left in the dust, the Airbus CEO says that his company and France's Thales Alenia Space and Italy's Leonardo are in early talks on a possible tie-up of their individual satellite activities.
Lars, how big is the defense sector in Europe anyway? Can you give us some numbers?
I guess the most interesting number is on the growth we've seen in the sector. EU defense spending has increased by 31% since 2021 and is expected to reach 326 billion euros this year. That is according to figures from the European Defense Agency. Now, that figure represents 1.9% of the European Union's gross domestic product. And that's another interesting number because it's just shy of 2%, and that is the magic number that's been discussed for so many years now. It used to be the number NATO countries were expected to spend on defense, but following the rise of Trump in the US and taking into account the possibility that the US will be less interested in the NATO than it used to be, it is widely expected that European countries will spend more.
Well, the US President-elect Donald Trump is forging ahead with his cabinet selections and policy plans as his transition gains momentum. From healthcare reform to economic strategies, Trump's latest announcements promise a mix of continuity and innovation. Nupur Praveen reports.
US President-elect Donald Trump isn't just building a cabinet. He's assembling a cast for what promises to be a headline-making presidency. Donald Trump has tapped celebrity doctor Mehmet Oz, a Turkish-American doctor, to lead the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Service, an agency that is responsible for the healthcare of millions of Americans. Dr. Oz transitioned from cardiothoracic surgery to television fame via the Oprah Winfrey Show and his 13-season Emmy-winning show, The Dr. Oz Show. Oz is another addition to the unconventional health team after Trump tabbed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services. Together they will target what Trump calls the illness industrial complex. The billionaire co-founder of World Wrestling Entertainment, Linda McMahon, has been appointed as Education Secretary in the new Trump administration. She is a long-time Trump supporter and brings loyalty and experience to the role. She is also the co-chair of Trump's transition team. Trump has chosen Howard Lutnick, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, to lead the Commerce Department. Lutnick shares Trump's vision of bringing back manufacturing jobs and integrating cryptocurrency into US economic policy. Trump also joined his closest ally at the moment, Elon Musk, on Tuesday at SpaceX's latest Starship test launch in Texas, signaling interest in space exploration. Meanwhile, in New York, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has delayed sentencing in Trump's hush money case, giving prosecutors time to counter his expected dismissal motion. This marks another legal hurdle for the president-elect. From reshaping healthcare to rethinking the economy, Donald Trump's transition is as controversial as it is ambitious. As January approaches, the world is watching to see how these bold choices will define his presidency. Nupur Praveen for DD India.
And still to come here on DD India News Hour. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh visits the Lao PDR for the ASEAN Defence Ministers Meeting Plus. India holds regional elections in the states of Jharkhand and Maharashtra. Yes. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. In fact, Dominica confers its highest national honor to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Okay, let's go across once again to Georgetown, and these are visuals of the bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, who is the Prime Minister of Grenada. Grenada is currently the chair of CARICOM as well, and we heard the Prime Minister Mitchell at the second CARICOM India Summit, where he spoke at length about Prime Minister Modi's role as a world leader and his generosity towards the Global South and his leadership of the Global South as well. Prime Minister Mitchell speaking there to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The whole approach towards the Global South has developed and gained momentum after India's G20 presidency, when the Voice of the Global South Summit took place, and then from then it has now become a regular feature. And meeting with these groupings, especially like the African Union at once and also the CARICOM now, indicates the importance that India gives to the agenda of the Global South. India, as we did see during India's G20 presidency, was emerging clearly to speak for the agenda of the Global South, and India's growth opportunities have brought all these countries on board, because India is the fastest growing country in the world, I mean the large country that is, and at 7%. This also is another visual of Prime Minister meeting with Prime Minister Philippe Pierre, who is the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, also a member of CARICOM. So Prime Minister really meeting with all the leaders who have come for the CARICOM Summit. He's met with Prime Ministers of all these countries, Antigua, Barbuda. He's met with Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, of course, and he's met with St. Lucia, as well as Suriname and Trinidad and Tobago, and Dominica also, both the President and the Prime Minister. This is a meeting with Philippe Pierre, who is the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. Philippe Pierre has been Prime Minister, in fact, since 2021. We've seen time and again all the leaders of the Caribbean have been very thankful to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the generosity during COVID times, because it was a time that was these are not countries which have large populations, and a disease like that could have had its significant consequences on these countries. So it must be looked at in that light. India sending vaccines has really played a very significant role in the Caribbean. Also, these are small island nations, part of the Commonwealth as well. And through the Commonwealth, India also a member of the Commonwealth. There is a shared heritage in a sense, and from India to the Caribbean, of course, there is a significantly strong shared heritage. These are the two bilateral meetings that we've continued to give you, but we'll give you as and when these take place. We'll give you more information and we'll share visuals with you. Let's continue with our news now. Jailed Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai defended his newspaper Apple Daily as a strong advocate for democracy and freedom during his national security trial on Wednesday. Lai stated that the core values of the newspaper, such as the rule of law, democracy, freedom of speech, religion and assembly, reflect the principles held by the people of Hong Kong. While Beijing slammed Lai for being an agent, a lackey is what they called him, of anti-China forces, the foreign ministry spokesperson there of China saying that Lai is the main plotter, the participant in chief of the anti-China chaos and Hong Kong that happened in Hong Kong. Now this case in fact goes back a few years, centers around articles in the newspaper that supported the huge violent sometimes protests, pro-democracy protests that took place in 2019. The newspaper criticized Beijing's leadership. The 76-year-old has been imprisoned for nearly 4 years now, and he could even face a life sentence. A Russian government delegate, Alexander Kozlov, met North Korean officials in Pyongyang on Tuesday. During this visit, both countries discussed bilateral cooperation in different fields. They include trade, economy, science and technology. The meeting came after the South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol at the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro had urged the two countries to end their military cooperation. That's being seen on the battlefield between Russia and Ukraine. Russia transferred over 70 animals on Wednesday, including an African lion and 2 brown bears, to a zoo in the North Korean capital Pyongyang. This is from Moscow Zoo, and the animals were a gift from the Russian President Vladimir Putin to the Korean people. News now from Pakistan, and a court in Pakistan has granted bail to the jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan, but this isn't a case relating to the illegal sale of state gifts. That's only one bail because the cricketer turned politician has been in prison since August of 2023. But it was not immediately clear if the embattled politician would be even released, given the number of cases that he faces. There are other charges too, including inciting violence against the state. And the ruling Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party has said that Imran Khan can't get bail in quite a few of these cases in which he is charged with planning riots by his supporters in the wake of his arrest in May last year. The former Prime Minister Imran Khan has denied any wrongdoing. He alleges that all these cases which have been registered against him are politically motivated. Pakistan's military said on Wednesday that a suicide attack in northwest Pakistan killed 12 soldiers following a separate clash that left 8 dead in the same region bordering Afghanistan. The army said that 6 militants died in an exchange of fire between them and the soldiers right before the suicide attack in Banu. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is in the Lao PDR. He's there for the 11th ASEAN Defence Ministers Plus meeting. Now, this forum, it's the highest defence consultative and cooperative mechanism in the ASEAN region. While addressing the Indian community there in Lao PDR, the Defence Minister Singh, he said that after 2014, India's stature has grown on the world stage and definitely in this forum as well.
के बाद इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी में भारत का स्टेचर बढ़ा है। पहले भारत इंटरनेशनल फोरम पर कुछ बोलता था तो भारत की बातों को जितनी सीरियसली लिया जाना चाहिए, जितनी गंभीरतापूर्वक लिया जाना चाहिए, नहीं लिया जाता था। लेकिन आज इंटरनेशनल फोरम पर भारत कुछ बोलता है तो सारी दुनिया कान खोलकर सुनती है कि भारत बोल क्या रहा है। यह भारत की है, यह कोई छोटी बात नहीं है। अब हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर का सम्मान यदि दुनिया की देश में होता है, इसका मतलब प्राइम मिनिस्टर जिस कंट्री का प्राइम मिनिस्टर है उस कंट्री का सम्मान हो रहा है।
Well, on the sidelines of talks, the Minister Singh, met his Chinese counterpart, and it was for the first time that they are meeting following the recent disengagement agreements, as well as that important meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping that took place on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. Rajnath Singh highlighted the amicable relations between India and China could be positive for the entire world, global peace and security and prosperity. Considering that both countries are and will continue to remain neighbors, he said, they need to focus on cooperation rather than conflict. The Minister Singh also met his counterparts from Malaysia and the Lao PDR, and during his meeting with the Malaysian Defence Minister, both sides agreed to support each other's endeavours to arrive at meaningful outcomes to promote security and stability in the region. Minister Singh complimented the Lao PDR for its efficient and inclusive leadership as the chair of ASEAN this year, and these meetings in fact are aimed to further enhance bilateral defence cooperation with these countries. As the high-stakes assembly elections came to an end on Wednesday, Maharashtra recorded 62.05% voter turnout. Jharkhand saw 68.01%. Voting for all 288 seats of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, a large state, it was held in a single phase. Voters were exercising their franchise, and the ruling BJP-led Mahayuti Alliance is vying to retain power, and the Mahavikasa Ghadi Combine is hoping for a comeback. It's a tough election and a tight election. While Jharkhand went for its second phase of assembly elections with candidates contesting across 38 constituencies in 12 districts. So the first phase of the Jharkhand polls was held for 43 seats. There are 81 seats altogether in this assembly. The first phase was on November 13. Counting of votes is going to take place on Saturday. India's Chief of Army Staff, General Upendra Dwivedi, has embarked on a 4-day visit to Nepal from Wednesday. And during this visit, General Dwivedi will hold bilateral talks with his Nepalese counterpart and will be conferred with the honorary rank of General of the Nepali Army by the Nepalese President Ramchandra Paudel. And this visit, it aims to strengthen military cooperation between India and Nepal and will explore new avenues of collaboration between the two countries. Prasar Bharati, India's public broadcaster, has launched its own OTT platform, Waves, offering a broad spectrum of entertainment and news content. The app is now available for download on Android and iOS devices. The platform aims to cater to a wide audience with a mix of live channels, movies, TV shows, games, and live events. Here's more.
The 55th edition of the International Film Festival of Goa kicked off in grand style with the launch of many firsts and new initiatives in order to cater the global cinema market. And in a significant development for the Indian digital media landscape, Prasar Bharati's much-awaited OTT platform went live during IFFI with its official launch at the prestigious International Festival.
As the audiences have discovered the newer media of consuming content, digital is one medium which has gained quite a lot of prominence in these days and times. So it is only fitting that Prasar Bharati also forays into this domain. And one of the advantages of this would be also that the content would be available to all audiences, even if they are in the remotest parts of the country or even outside the country. There is a lot of demand for Indian content across the board, across the world. The Indian settlers in various countries also remember their times here in India through these programs. And of course, they want to keep updated with the news, with the entertainment of Indian origin. We will also be making provisions for sharing some of the informative content that is being produced by the ministries of Government of India, by various state governments, and some rare archival material of photographs, of magazines and journals and e-books. We would also be providing facilities for e-games. So, e-shopping, which is also gaining a lot of prominence these days, is also going to be a part of Waves. So there is something for everyone, and I would request the audiences to download Waves later today and be a part of this experience of this entertainment की नई लहर.
दूरदर्शन तो हमारे खून में था, अब वेव हमारी सांसों में होगा. मतलब अच्छी बात है. इनसे सारी चीज़ें बहुत जगह सिनेमा पहुंचती हैं.
Prasar Bharati's OTT platform is poised to offer a diverse range of content, including live channels, archival footage, and original programming to the audience. The platform also focuses on family-friendly content, aiming to provide a wholesome viewing experience for audiences of all ages. Talking about the benefits of content creators, interestingly, the content creator will retain the IP rights. The OTT platform further aims at creating a marketplace to showcase its vast archive of over 2,000 titles, including a treasure trove of heritage photos. Deepika Mehto's report for DD India.
Actor Anshuman Pushkar, who is famously known for his Hindi film 12th Fail, talked about the benefits of OTT in an exclusive conversation with Deepika. Anshuman said that the initiative by Prasar Bharati is really great and much needed.
The red carpet is buzzing with mega stars, and right now we have with us Anshuman. How are you feeling about this particular edition of IFFI, and what is that particular thing that excites you the most about it?
Two things. That first time I'm attending this kind of festival, and this is unique thing that India has. That kind of films we have. The unique films, outstanding films are coming from the new filmmakers. So showcasing those films are very important for viewers, for the newcomers. So this is the exciting thing. First time, our three films, particularly three films are there already.
12th Fail has excited all the audiences a lot, and there's a lot of learning that people take up from there. How your experience shapes you to take up the upcoming challenges in Indian cinema, considering the moral it always prefers to showcase to the young audiences.
The content is always always king. So when there is a concern of making good films, and people will definitely like that thing. Then 12th Fail is burning example of that thing. Then if you are attempting with your true heart and true emotions, in Indian viewers will definitely like that. And in the terms of newcomers like us, who is getting opportunity to work with the juggernauts like Vidhu sir, is once in a lifetime opportunity. And that is for actors like us, who is trying to understand the craft and passion about this overall industry, and learning from the best is blessing for actors like us.
Apart from the silver screens and the other screens, OTT is also offering a lot of opportunity to all the young stars. And you would be knowing that Prasar Bharati is also launching its own OTT platform today. What are your views on that?
This is outstanding thing that Prasar Bharati is very reputed and reputed institution is there, and if they are coming with this thing, definitely they are going to make good content, good informative content. So definitely we are thrilled and excited about that also.
All right, thank you so much, Anshuman, and all the best to you.
Thank you very much.
Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get you the sports news now. The Tyagaraja Sports Complex in India's capital, New Delhi, is hosting the Asia Pacific BAW or the bowling competition. It's 12 teams are participating in this prestigious tournament. An Indian mixed bocce team. It started on a positive note, beating Malaysia in a key match. Narayan Singh reports.
The Asia Pacific Bocce and Bowling competition is underway at the Tyagaraja Sports Complex in New Delhi. This is the first time India is hosting this prestigious event. On day one of the competition, 42 round-robin matches in bocce took place across different categories. In a notable match, India's mixed doubles bocce team defeated Malaysia in the round-robin stage. The Indian bocce team's coach are optimistic about the country's chances in the tournament.
This tournament is very helpful for intellectual disability persons because they meet same ability peoples and it's built their self confidence also.
बोची गेम हमारे बच्चों का चल रहा है. बच्चों ने बहुत अच्छे से प्रैक्टिस कर रखी है और अभी भी बच्चे अच्छा गेम करेंगे और कर भी रहे हैं और आगे भी इनको अभी तक गोल्ड मेडल लेके आए हैं, आगे भी गोल्ड मेडल लेके जाएंगे और भारत को जिताएंगे, भारत का नाम रोशन करेंगे.
The competition features 12 teams including India, battling it out in various categories. The event showcases athletes with intellectual disabilities, celebrating sportsmanship and inclusion. Sports Desk, DD India.
And defending champions India defeated China 1-0 in the final to clinch the Women's Asian Champions Trophy on Wednesday. Deepika Kumari scored the winner and finished as the tournament's highest scorer with 11 goals. This is India's third title, and they are now the joint most successful team in the competition with South Korea.
The Indian hockey team has done it again. Defending champions have edged out China in the finals to clinch Women's Asian Champions Trophy at the Rajgir Hockey Stadium in Bihar. Deepika Kumari scored the winning goal as India defeated China 1-0 in the summit clash. She finished as the tournament's top scorer with 11 goals. This is India's third title, bringing them level with South Korea as the most successful nation in the competition's history. The Indian women won their maiden title in 2016 and also bagged the 2023 edition. Hockey India congratulated them. They posted on X, Team India has once again proven their mettle with an unbeatable run in the Women's Asian Champions Trophy 2024. After the heartbreak of the Olympic qualifiers earlier this year, our girls have bounced back with unparalleled resilience and confidence, dominating the tournament from start to finish. This victory is a testament to their strength, skill and unwavering determination. Both sides came close to scoring from penalty corners in the second quarter, but the goalkeepers stood strong to keep the opening half goalless. Deepika could have doubled her tally after winning a penalty stroke, but Chinese goalkeeper pulled off a brilliant save. The Indian defence held on resolutely in the final quarters and secured the record-equalling title. Sports Desk, DD India.
And India's Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia congratulated the team. He called it spectacular and a tremendous victory. Minister Mandavia said that our women's hockey team has made the country proud by defeating China 1-0 in the final of the Women's Asian Champions Trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for the spectacular victory. Keep making India proud like this. Heartiest wishes for the future. India's star shuttlers PV Sindhu, Malvika Bansod and Lakshya Sen have moved to the second round of the China Masters Badminton Tournament in Shenzhen on Wednesday. Sindhu, a two-time Olympic medalist, beat a higher-ranked opponent, Basunan Ongbang Fan of Thailand. She won 21-17, 21-19, notching up her 20th win over the Thai shuttler. And Lakshya Sen avenged his Olympic bronze medal loss with a 21-14, 13-21, 21-13 win over the 7th seed Malaysian Lee Xia. Now, Malvika Bansod also beat world number 21 Lini Hoj Mark Kjaz Felt. She won 20-22, 23-21, 21-16 to advance to the second round. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Talk to us about your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, connect with us on our Facebook and other platforms. But you can also download our mobile app, which is available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin. Thank you for being with us on DD India News Hour. Namaskar.